Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Is news that literally happened about 5 minutes after we went off air on Thursday. And I'll tell you, this is about as long as you're ever going to have to wait for Torres to talk about a topic. We could not record on Thursday night. I had family in town. We were going to do it Sunday. We did not do a show Sunday because of the holiday. So let's go ahead and dive into the roster that John Calipari is going to roll out because, they had some big news on Thursday that we need to discuss. And if you listen to Thursday afternoon show, Thursday evening show, what did we spend the first 20 or 25 minutes talking about? We said, look, Calipari made some portal additions early last week. Malik Ewan from Florida State, Nick Pringle from South Carolina. Like them, they're role players. They aren't guys that are going to define Arkansas season in 2025-2026. And what I said at the time was there were 4 players that, in theory, had eligibility and could come back, and Arkansas's season next year was going to be defined by if those 4 decided to come back. DJ Wagner, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond, and Trevon Brazile. Well, before we got off air, Carter Knox did announce that he was going to test the NBA draft waters, leave the process open. But we went off air wondering what the future of all 3 was. Unfortunately, about 2 minutes after, I'm not even kidding, it was under 10 minutes after we got off air. Like, it was staggering how wild the time frame was. But less than 5 minutes, 10 minutes after we get off air, the other 3 did make their official announcements in a video released by John Calipari on social. Producer Matt has that video. Producer Matt, tell everybody what they missed on Thursday afternoon.
With the team. And there is a team this year. So let me go over some of the roster. What we're doing, who's going to be here. Not quite finished, but I'm feeling really good about this group.
What's up, Hog Nation? Let's run it back. I'm all in.
Yo, what's good, Razorback Nation? It's TB. Just want to say I'm excited to come back and do another year on the hill. Whoopee.
I'm all in, Razorback Nation. Year 2. Let's do it.
What up, though, Hog Nation? Darius Acuff here. Just here to let y'all know I'm all in, man. Let's do it.
I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all my Arkansas fans. And I really just wanted to let y'all know, Hog Nation, I'm all in.
Hog Nation, I'm all in. Let's do it.
Hello, Hog Nation. I'm all in.
And on top of that, you read today, Carter is testing the waters, which I fully agree with. That being said,
So there you have it. Just minutes after we went off air, DJ Wagner is back. Trevon Brazile is back. Billy Richmond is back. Carter Knox testing the NBA draft waters. By the way, we know about the portal additions and the 4-man recruiting class. And so with it, I really have 2 questions. One, is this the best team in the SEC coming into next season? We're going to discuss that momentarily. But before we get to that, I do have another question. And that question is very simple. Can anything stop the Big Pig invasion, baby? That is right. Can anything stop the Big Pig invasion? I'll tell you what, we have sold out of our stock, but you can get your orders in. AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. My t-shirt guy already has another order coming because it is so exciting. It is that time of year. And like I said, is this the best team in the SEC? I think on paper it is. Let's go ahead and dive in. By the way, as always, Torres on the Hogs for your late-breaking Arkansas news. So a couple things stand out about that video. First of all, I love the top. If you remember, it was right around this time last year, John Calipari officially announces the Arkansas head coach. His first press conference with the media says, and this is an all-time line, I loved it. He says, went to meet with the team. There was no team. And so basically, of course, when Eric Musselman left, everybody entered the portal. So he opens that video with the statement of, we have a team this year, and I'm really excited about it. So I love that callback to his opening press conference. But really, let's go ahead and dive in because to me, this is a best case scenario. All the guys you wanted are back, and you retained everybody in the high school recruiting class. And I want to go ahead and actually, you know what? I want to start there. By the way, we got a little headphone situation going on here, so forgive me. I apologize, but we'll keep going. But really, so let's talk Arkansas, okay? Because we're going to get into best SEC, whatever. But to me, you know what was actually the biggest thing that stood out to me watching that video? It is that in an off season where everybody is losing guys everywhere, and it's not a knock on this school or that school or whatever, but think about the last couple days. Denzel Aberdeen, one of the best players off of a national championship team at Florida, about to be a starter, enters the portal. Caden Lewis was going to have a big role at Kentucky, decides not to go to Kentucky. This school loses this guy. That school loses that guy. Chad Baker-Bizarro was set to come back to Auburn. He does not come back. That's the biggest thing that stands out. In this kind of offseason, Calipari's bringing back everybody. The three guys that we know are coming back, they all had opportunities to leave. They are coming back. And I think this is important as well, the four-man freshman class. It would have been easy for Malik Thomas or Darius Acuff Jr., two guards that were expecting to play big minutes, to worry about DJ Wagner's back. What does it mean? What does it mean for my opportunities? Am I going to play as much? They could have easily looked at other options. Instead, they are coming back as well. Now let's dive into this team, because to me, it's the best team on paper in the SEC going into next year. By the way, I'll update my way too early top 25 later this week. I updated, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week. It's already outdated. But when I look at this team, a couple things. First of all, I think the backcourt is elite, okay? DJ Wagner, you guys and girls know I'm a fan. You might feel differently. You might like him. You might not like him, whatever. Okay, I get it. But at the end of the day, what I see is this: a third-year point guard in the SEC, and I believe a guy that was playing his best basketball at the end of last season. Okay, we've talked about it time and time again. I know the stats don't blow you away. 11 points, 3.5 assists. But one, remember, he wasn't even playing on the ball for the first probably 40% of the season before Boogie Flan gets hurt. But then late in the year, when Arkansas needed a superstar, this was the guy, that stepped up. You go to that big win at Rupp Arena that started everything. 17 points, 8 assists in that game. 17 points, 5 assists in a near win at Auburn. Obviously, the game against Mississippi State late in the season that essentially clinched an SEC tournament bid. 24 points, 3 of 4 from behind the three-point arc, 13 points and 6 assists in the SEC tournament, 14 points and 6 assists against Kansas in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. And even though things didn't go as planned against Texas Tech, did have 13 points in that game as well. So to me, first of all, that's the first important part, is the fact that you now have a veteran point guard in college basketball in 2026 in the SEC. I find it interesting, by the way, in an offseason in which Tennessee is basically losing everybody. Auburn is starting from scratch. Florida is starting from scratch. Ole Miss is starting from scratch. Kentucky is returning some, but obviously replacing a lot. John Calipari all of a sudden becomes Mr. Retention, headlined by DJ Wagner. Beyond that, and by the way, I'd say this about DJ. If DJ had wanted to enter the portal, I promise you he would have had options. Veteran point guard, from the tri-state area. I'm here to tell you there were a couple Big East schools that were hoping that kid was going to enter the portal, but he ends up coming back. Beyond that, Billy Richmond, a guy we've talked about a lot. I keep using the analogy. He's like the middle linebacker that, doesn't really know the plays, but he goes hard every play, and sometimes he makes a tackle 8 yards in the backfield, and sometimes he runs into the wrong hole, but darn it, does he play hard? That's a kid that I think is going to make a leap as a sophomore, and another one who played his best basketball late in the season. 16 points, 9 rebounds against St. John's in the NCAA tournament. Arkansas doesn't go to the Sweet 16 without him. Trevon Brazile. I'm here to tell you, Trevon Brazile, if he had entered the portal, would have had plenty of options. I know that statistically the numbers don't stand out, but if you watched Arkansas late in the year, 15 points and 11 boards against Ole Miss in the SEC tournament, 11 points and 12 rebounds against Kansas, 11 points and 5 boards against Texas Tech. You add those guys in with the 2 veterans that you added in the front court, Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan. We talked about that last week. Oh, who cares? They're a bunch of role players. You didn't need superstars in the portal. It's actually a great thing because you can't add too much more. And then I'll tell you this. I am so excited about the 2 freshmen that are coming in with Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. Did you watch Darius Acuff in the Nike Hoops Summit a few nights ago? 22 points in that game. What do you have? 7, 8 assists. Looked every bit. Listen, DeBansa and Darren Peterson are going 1 and 2 in the next year's draft, okay? If Nate Amen, who finally committed, if things go well, he could be a top 5 pick. You know, some of these guys that could return, like a Carter Knox, could go high. I'm here to tell you, Darius Acuff is going to be one of the top 10 players off the board next year. He is going to be Arkansas's best NBA prospect, and I think he is going to be a huge addition alongside DJ Wagner. Malik Thomas is going to be really good as well. And so I just bring it up because I asked the question to lead the segment. Is this the best team in the SEC? And yes, I believe they are. Now, again, games have to be played. You have to figure things out. You have to figure out rotations. By the way, the other thing I'd say, we don't know about Carter Knox coming back. I do still think Carter Knox, by the way, is an important piece to what they want to do in 2025, 2026. They do need wing scoring. They do need defense on the wing. But what I would also say is you go back to what we've discussed throughout the offseason is that that's a kid that if he doesn't get some type of great guarantee in the draft process, then guess what? He comes back and he's potentially an All-American. He's potentially a top 15 pick in the 2025-2026 NBA draft or 2026 NBA draft, excuse me. Because again, if you look at what he did, if you look at the impact that he had late in the season, we've talked a lot about him. He showed up in a big way against Texas Tech in the NCAA tournament. 20.6 boards, 15 points against St. John's, 14 points against Ole Miss in the SEC tournament. But you start to look at adding him. Tell me what this team's weakness is. Now, you probably have to add a little bit of shooting, and we'll get to that in a minute. But all of a sudden, you look around. You have size. You have athleticism. You have role players in the front court. You have 3 guards that can get you probably 20 to 25 on any given night. You have a wing in Carter Knox, which could be a top 10 pick. You have Billy Richmond, who I think is going to be a much improved, confident player in year 2 in the SEC. They have experience. They have retention, which, again, I think is important. You know, I saw a stat from Evan Mia from evanmia.com who said something to the effect of, you know, Florida's retention was quietly among the best in college basketball last year. And we don't think about these kind of things in April. We get so excited about the portal and this 5 stars going there. Having guys who have been there, who have done it, who understand expectations, I think that is a huge part of what you need in this world in college basketball. And so I could go on, but I really do believe this is the best roster. Headlined by the 3 returnees, DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond, Trevon Brazile. Love the 2 5-star guards, Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff, and a couple other things that are worth mentioning. One, I think it's important to note, when I talk about the best team in the SEC, again, we'll figure out who the best teams are when the games get played in January, February, March. But at the same time, like I said, I think it's an important note. The SEC, it's always going to be good in the NIL portal era, but this past year might have been the peak of what it can be. It's just hard to imagine it being better in a world where we don't have 5th and 6th year seniors with that COVID year of eligibility. Again, Tennessee rebuilding its roster almost completely from scratch. Auburn rebuilding its roster almost completely from scratch, especially now that we know that Chad Baker-Mazara almost certainly isn't going to be back. Ole Miss rebuilding from scratch. Florida rebuilding from scratch. I was thinking about this. Outside of Kentucky, who I think is going to be improved, outside of Arkansas, because this is an Arkansas segment, but outside of Kentucky, who I do think is going to be improved, and outside of maybe Texas, because I think Sean Miller is just a way better coach than Rodney Terry, who are the teams in the SEC that are going to be definitively better next year than they were this year? I don't think Auburn's going to be better. They're going to be good. I don't think they're going to be better. I think Florida's going to be good. I don't think they're going to be better. I don't think whoever, Tennessee, Mississippi State, you go on and on. Missouri, I love Dennis Gates. I don't think they're going to be better. So this is an exciting time for Arkansas. The last thing I'll say is I don't think they're done. One, we'll wait on official news for Carter Knox. That probably won't come out for another probably 3 to 4 weeks. NBA draft process is going to go into mid-May. We'll cover it. We'll monitor it. And it'll be interesting if for some reason Carter Knox does decide to stay in the draft. We'll obviously figure out, is there a plan B behind him? Because I don't know that you'll be able to get that caliber of player that late in the spring. But again, I expect him to probably return to college after this draft process, because he is a guy that I don't see being a top 15, top 20 pick and getting the kind of guaranteed money that he should be expecting, and the kind of guaranteed money that should convince him to leave Arkansas next year when he's going to be a very well compensated player in the college game. But 2, I don't think they're done. and it'll be interesting to see. I think they still feel like they want to go get one more scorer on the perimeter, a guy that doesn't need to handle the ball. So could that be PJ Haggerty if the point guard demands go away? We'll talk about PJ Haggerty in a minute. Jameer Watkins from Florida State is a name that is very popular. Then I'll say this, there's conflicting reports on if Chad Baker-Mazara would actually be a factor at Arkansas. I saw Jeff Goodman say he would be. I saw some Arkansas reporters say probably not. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm sure all the comments agree with me, all those lovely Kentucky fans agree. I think this is the best team in the SEC going into next year. We got a long way to go to get to November and December, but I cannot wait until the games are played. And by the way, we'll find out how good Arkansas is early. We know Coach Cal will put together an interesting out-of-conference schedule, and we already know Thanksgiving Day, Duke, Arkansas in Chicago. That's probably going to be a top 10 matchup. At least it will be a preseason top 10 matchup on paper. So a lot to be excited about. But this team right now is, in my opinion, the best team in the SEC.